system. Oh, I'll transfer the Dr. Sajid.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
Good afternoon. I will start my talk now about research ethics. It's an introduction actually to research ethics, especially for graduate students, in order to be aware about the importance of ethics in research and application for getting approval for their research in their graduate studies. My voice is, you hear my voice?
Yes.
Do you hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. And the presentation, you are seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good, very good. So let us start. So I will start with just early, actually, or modern history about the about research ethics or ethics in research. Actually, the birth of modern research ethics began with the desire to protect human subjects involved in research projects. And the first attempt was done actually to establish the regulation actually during the doctor trial, 1946 to 47, in order leading to the establishment of the Nuremberg Code, which consisted of the basic ethical principles. And these actually the principles, there are 10 basic principles, which are actually the important principle which lead to the establishment of many guidelines of research ethics. These are the Nuremberg Code. What are these 10 ethical principles? Actually, these are the research. Number one is that research participant must be voluntarily consent to research participate. And this is very important actually in human ethics and human research. Actually, we should have the participant should always give their voluntarily, should not be forced to be participated in the research. So voluntarily consent is very important and very important principle actually of ethics principle in research. The second one actually the research which we want to do should always contribute to good society. Very important part of it actually. The third one, it has a sound theory, and there should be always when we work on animals, especially in clinical trials, we should always try that drug on animals. So animal testing should precede using these or experimenting these drugs on human being. Then the fourth point, research must avoid unnecessarily physical or mental suffering. There should not be any suffering, actually. No suffering of any participant, whether this is physical or emotional or mental suffering. The fifth, no research project can go forward when we have actually serious injury or might lead to death of the one of the participant. This should be stopped, and we should avoid any kind of research leading to such serious injury or death. The degree of risk taken with research participant cannot exceed anticipated research. Okay. And then okay, sorry for that. So these are very important. So proper environmental protection will be very important. Experiment must be conducted by scientifically qualified persons, and human subjects must be allowed to, any participant should be allowed to discontinue. They should have this right. They participate at any time. And scientists must be prepared to determine the experiment if this lead or cause any harmful or result in injury or death, serious injury or death to the participants. So these are the main principles of Nuremberg Code. Actually, this was followed by Helsinki Declaration. And Helsinki Declaration, actually, it was done in 1964. And it was developed by World Medical Association and has been revised and updated periodically since their release 1964, and the last edit was in 2000. Actually, it was built on Nuremberg Code, but then has advances further, more guidelines specifically designed to address unique vulnerability of a human subject solicited to participate in the clinical research practice. And these important principles of Helsinki Declaration include the following: the necessity for using an independent investigator to review the potential research project. And this is very important, that the research project should always be reviewed by an independent investigator. This is very important for any research project. The second thing is that employing medically qualified person to supervise the research on human being. This is also very important point, because medically qualified person should knows about what will be going on human being, because already studied that, and be aware of all changes that might occur secondary to the experiment that we are going to do on human being. The third point, the importance of preserving accuracy of research results. This is also very important for not only for human, but also for any other research that will be done, for example, on animals or social issues. The other important point or principle, they have suggestion on how to obtain informed consent. So informed consent should be very important actually in any research on human being, and any participant should give a consent, their consent to participate in that research. And then they also put rules on concerning the research that will be done on children and mentally incompetent persons. And this is very important also. And also evaluating and using experimental treatment on patients. And the importance of determining which medical situation and condition are appropriate and safe for research. Following the Helsinki Declaration, Belmont Report 1997 will add more. Actually, it is what was coming from the National Commission for Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, and it will also outline an additive principles, including the ethical principles for research with human subjects, boundaries between medical practice and research, and concepts of respect persons, beneficence, and justice, and also application of these principles in informed consents. So still you see in all these principles three important ethical principles, the Nuremberg, the Helsinki, and Belmont, actually focusing on the consents. Usually we should have consent when from the participants that they agree on participating in such research. Now I will give you a summary on research ethics actually in the UAE, ethics in research, and the UAE federal governments had approved the Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct in 2010. And this followed by ministerial resolution 1448 by Ministry of Health, adoption of Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct for health professionals. And actually this ministerial resolution by Ministry of Health number 1448 ensure respect to people, no abuse, good treatment, human rights, freedom of choice, integrity, and impartiality, and honesty, confidentiality, empathy, tolerance, and kindness, equality, professionalism, competence, and self-development, and society promotion. So all these are very important ethical ethical principles. They are included actually in this resolution. Then we have very important document released by the Department of Health, DOH, which on the standard on human subject research in 2020. Very important. This will include all the ethical principles that are and the high standard of ethics actually in this document. And our university actually further to its mission become an internationally recognized research intensive university with policies, procedures, and administrative capacity that support and promote and enable research and scholarly activity at a high standard actually of ethics. So this policy, UAE University policy, ensure high ethical standards in research as a central and critical responsibility. And the individual researcher has a responsibility not only for him or herself, but also on the society. And policy will be interpreted in a manner that it is consistent with university commitment to the highest standard of professional conduct. Generally, actually, the UN research ethics policy regards maintenance of highest ethical standards in research as a central and critical responsibility. Members of academic community have the responsibility to act accordance with UAE law, in addition to cultural norms, as well as UAEU codes of practice, policies, and standards of professionalism. For that reason, UAE University has established a research ethics review board that is responsible for conducting ethical review of research proposals requiring relevant review. The members of the research ethic review board actually consists of 11 members. This includes the chair, vice chair, chair of the Human Medical Research Ethics Committee, chair of the Social Sciences Research Ethics Committee, chair of the Hazardous and Biohazardous Material Research Ethics Committee, and chair of the Animal Ethics Committee. These are the 4 ethics committees that are responsible for reviewing research proposal in order to obtain an ethical approval. Plus, we have 3 more faculty members with relevant academic qualifications and research experience, and a person with knowledge of and current experience in professional care, counseling, or treatment of people, and a lawyer or a person with a legal background. The University Research Ethics Review Board actually oversee 4 committees with the following tasks. First of all, we have the Social Sciences Research Ethics Committee. This committee will review and process approval for research projects aiming to collecting opinions and information from volunteers that are submitted by faculty researcher as related colleges. Then we have the hazardous and biohazardous materials process. This committee processes research ethics will review and the process actually approval of research products involving the use of hazardous possible biohazardous material, including gene-modified organisms, or processes submitted by faculty researchers at related colleges. The Human Medical Research Ethics, actually, the committee will review and process approval of research projects using human subjects or their tissue or products, or also the clinical data that are submitted by faculty researcher at colleges affiliated or contracted by the UAEU. And we have Animal Ethics Committee. The committee will review and grant approval of research projects involving the use of animals in research and teaching. This includes the use of animal tissue or bioproducts by faculty researchers related to colleges. And the committee will recommend to UAEU Animal Facility any measure needed to ensure that that the required standards are maintained in the animal facility. And of course, this will include actually research on small and large animals. Then actually, what are the university research ethics policy? These include research ethics policy, actually, research proposals that require ethical consideration are submitted to the relevant committee of research ethics review board. For example, if you are working on animals, your research experiments on animals, so you fill the proposal, which is already online in the ethics portal of our university. you put your username and your password, and then you can enter and you can download the application of the appropriate committee, which either social science, biohazard, animal, human ethics committees, and then take the application form, fill the application form, and with the other required documentation, which you will find it in the portal, and then submit it. We will talk about that in this presentation, how you submit the application. Research ethics application are to be received only from the principal investigator. So the principal investigator or the faculty instructor. And this is included in the faculty instructor actually is in proposals that related to research on their teaching actually. So the principal investigator is the one who is responsible for submitting the application form. The graduate students, they will work on the proposal, writing of the application form, but under the supervision of the their principal investigator or the supervisor. Here, the principal investigator will be the graduate student supervisor. So the supervisor will be responsible for signing out the application form. It can be written by the graduate, so they know how to write the application form, but the final signature will be done by the principal investigator or the supervisor, and the graduate student will be a co-investigator in that application form. All research project requires ethical approval. This is very, very important point. We should, irrespective whether they are faculty-driven or student-driven, should seek approval before commencement of the project. This also applies to projects that are not intended to be published. Yani, even the project that you want to do it and you are not intended to publish it later on, you should, any research that will to be done inside the our university, you should seek ethical approval before starting that research. This is very, very important. So you should not start any research project without getting ethical approval from the appropriate ethics committee. Principal investigators are responsible for submitting the research project, as I mentioned that, and he should sign the application. And you, as graduate students, you will be a co-investigator in that. And also any application form or to seek ethical approval, you should have actually there should be a signature of the respected department chair. So the department chair of that department that the research will be done in should sign also the application for ethical approval. Each committee from the Research Ethics Review Board actually conduct its review and process the application form that's submitted to to that committee, and then the approval will be according to the review and the approval will be according to the international standard and best practices. And the chair of that committee will notify the principal investigator about the committee decision and approval. Each Research Ethics Review Board committee may request, if needed, copies of research manuscripts when they arise later on, before submission. So sometimes the ethics committee may ask, this is not for every research, but may ask a copy of the research manuscript before submission by the principal investigator for publication. The principal investigator should keep a file for each project approved by Research Ethics Committee, including the research proposal, application, approval letter, all communication, and copy of approval notification and final report for a minimal period of at least 5 years. Now we will talk about research involving on human and human-derived material data, which I am chairing that committee actually. So any research that will be done on human or human product, human tissue, human products, or even clinical data, that that project should seek actually ethical approval from Human Medical Research Ethics Committee. So there are policies for that. All projects fall within the above mentioned scope involving human or human-derived material, including tissue, organs, and the clinical data actually needs actual approval from Human Research Ethics Committee. However, commercially available, this is very important actually. Yani commercially available human cell lines do not require approval. Does not require approval. So if you have a project, you work on human, commercially available human cell line, you don't need to seek ethical approval for that. You can work on it. That this does not need. This is the only commercially available. Why? Because these commercially available actually, they already have been approved before their product from the institute that or laboratory that they arise. Tissue banks material from scientific organization outside the UAE, medical data from scientific database outside the UAE. Now we are talking about not inside the UAE. So clinical data that for patients, for example, from the hospital, this need ethical approval. But if you have tissue bank, for example, you are working on tissue and and you are imported or bring it from tissue bank from institute outside the UAE or medical data. You are using medical data from scientific databases after, of course, agreement with that databases outside the UAE, or you are working on the human cadaver, part of organs imported from outside the UAE and used for training or workshop, for example, of surgical procedure requiring only these require just notification. So even though these things and these conditions, you need to require notification. So there is the principal investigator should write a letter to the chair of Human Medical Research Ethics Committee, telling the chair and the committee that they are going to, for example, using tissue bank, for example, and give the whole detail to that, and also wait for the reply it will be directly. This will not go, actually, this research will not go for review. It will just get approval by the chair of the committee. So it will not take the usual review process. A research project that fall into more than one ethics committee. For example, you are working on a research that involves human and animal. So you need to apply for both human and animal research ethics committee. The principal investigator working on a project that deal with patients or their tissue byproducts in health institute. This is also very important. And if you are working, you want to work on human beings, product tissues, or their human being examining certain features in those patients, or using their clinical data, and for example, in a hospital, okay? You need to have ethical approval from that hospital as well, okay? And if you are working on more than one hospital, then you need to go, for example, more than one hospital in Abu Dhabi, then you need in Emirates of Abu Dhabi, then you need to go for to the Department of Health review board in order to get ethical approval to enable to work on your project on different hospital. For example, you want to work, you have a project on Tawam Hospital, and for example, Sheikh Khalifa Medical City Hospital in Abu Dhabi. So you need to go for ethical approval from DOH first, and then you need to get ethical approval from each hospital to use their data or their patients or their patient's product. For example, you want to take a blood or plasma or whatever it is. All research procedure protocols actually must protect human subject and respect rights of individual participants. So confidentiality of information is very important, and it's very, very, very important. And about human subjects, cultural sensitivity in UAE should be respected, and reputation of the UAE should also be respected. So these are very, 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 very important parts. Procedures must be designed and implemented with due care to follow university policies and applicable laws. Human medical research ethics actually consists of chair of the committee and 7 members. And this will review all research proposals involved in medical research using human subject or their or other research involving medical testing of subjects to ensure that the rights and welfare of the subjects are adequately protected and matters of confidentiality are respected. Prospective subject must also be protected from undue influence or pressure. This is very important to participate. So pressure is not allowed and it's forbidden. And appropriate approval process for the selection of human subject must be implemented. All activity must follow university policies and procedures. All requests to use research involving subjects originating from principal investigator inside or outside the university committee must be submitted by principal investigator to the human medical research ethics using the request of ethics research review form, which is available on the our university portal, ethics portal. So how to apply to UAEU Human Research Ethics Committee? Actually, you need to upload the application form. First of all, you need to go to the UAEU ethics portal, and you, of course, the principal investigator, he had to apply these documents, putting username and password, the same username that use it in your computer. And the application form actually is there. You can download the application form of the appropriate committee, not necessarily the Human Research Ethics Committee, but all other committees. When you go and enter to your to the domain of that committee, there will be the documentation that you need to download and upload. The application form will be required, actually, the signature of the PI and the signature of the co-investigator and the signature of the chair of the department. These are very important signature to be there. We need consent form. This is for human ethics. We need consent form both in Arabic and English, and I will show you example of these. And we need patient information sheet, meaning about the sheets that include actually information about the project, what you are going to do with in this project on this patient. So the patient should know what you are going to do and what are the risks. If there are any risk, you should tell the patient that there are this kind of risk. And you should also tell about the good or the importance of this project, and when it is completed, what will be benefits for the community. And then CV we need, and then we need the checklist, which include many items, which I will talk about it. So the application form, actually, this is the application form. And as you see, the application form, which include the biography of the investigator, actually. Yeah. So the name, the title, actually institutional affiliation, email address, and etc. And then also the same thing regarding the co-investigator. So graduate student will be here and as co-investigator in this application form. And if there are other co-investigator also should be listed here. Then we need approval. So you see there, the principal investigator should have signature, co-investigator signature, and department chair name and signature should be here. Then very important, our committee actually will approve research that are done within the university. This is number one. Number two, the participant, if you are dealing with a human and you want to do this research on a human being or taking blood from a human being, for example, as to use it for analysis, if it is including personnel from our university, for example, student participant as volunteer, staff, our faculty, participant, so it should be fine. So this is within the scope of our committee. But if you are, for example, doing the experimental work, for example, biochemical analysis, genetic analysis are done here, for example, for the sample using our facility actually. But the samples are taken, for example, from the hospital. So in that case, you need to have approval from that hospital, ethical committee in that hospital, in order to get full ethical approval from our committee. So in this research, that part of the research, for example, will be done in our university, and part of it, actually, the samples will be taken from the hospital. You put your application form for our university, ethical committee, but you will get conditional approval. And then you need to take this conditional approval. You seek approval from the appropriate hospital ethical committee in order to get the full approval. So this is how it works, because even the hospital committee, they will need our review of your proposal and your application form in order to give you full ethical approval from their committee. So this is very important, location and the participants. So remember always that our committee actually deal with subjects that are actually within our university. This is what is very important actually when you apply for human research ethics committee. And then there should be abstracts, the usual abstract. And then after that, project type. You need to write the project title actually. And then what is the principal goal of that project? And then you need a lay summary. What do we mean by lay summary? Lay summary means a summary of the project using simple words that be understood by a lay person, general population person that is not involved in research or not have a scientific background. Any person from the community, if read that lay, should understand. So it will be written with a simple language understandable by the general people. Then there will be another question, including whether this project is funded or not funded. If it is funded, it means that it is reviewed. If it is not funded, it means that it is not reviewed. Then in that case, there should be somebody in the department, for example, review that in order to have that the applicant should seek another opinion from another person in the same department, for example, or in the same faculty, that this project is appropriate. This is very, 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 very important in non-funded project. And then what we need actually, project description. You should write the project description, mean introduction, and we need also references as well with that. And then with research protocol, you should write the research protocol. And this is very important because this is the most important part that relate to ethics in research. Because the protocol, we will know what you are going to do with human beings, for example, in this research. What kind of experiment you are going to apply to these human beings or to their products. And this actually will include the participant, identification of the participant. And here, for example, you should write, for example, volunteer from the UAE university, for example. Criteria and eligibility mean exclusion and inclusion criteria, time, procedures, binding processes actually for that. And, and also you need to write the duration and the primary and secondary outcome measures that will be in this research. And also the most important part of it, number 7, actually, justification of why the participant will not receive previous routine care or will have current therapy, and the source of data of laboratory information, for example, whether it is lab test or measurement or questionnaires, this is also should be, and also whether there is administration of a drug, and also justification for including or not including a placebo or control. And this is, for example, if you are dealing with a clinical trial, and statistical analysis, criteria of removing participants. If you want to remove participants, what are the criteria to move participants? Also, planning for reporting or publication, description, what happens to the participants receiving therapy, and so on. And then come to most important is the protected health information, PHI, protected health information, and how we protect patient privacy is very, very important. This is very, very important ethical issue, and this includes many questions for protection of patient health information. This should be strictly protected, and we should not use the name of the participants. Actually, we should always use a code, for all the participants. And in all our documentation. So the patient will be a number. So we should not have the name of the patient in order to keep the privacy of the participants. And other questions actually will include patient intervention and exposure, whether there is intervention or exposure. And also what are our patients participant material, and also letters of approval. Letters of approval, this is what I mentioned earlier, that if you are working on patients in the hospital, for example, in Tawam Hospital. So what you need actually, you need an ethical approval or a letter of no objection from Tawam Hospital saying that they have no object on you, which means they give you ethical approval on doing this research project on the patients or on material in their hospital. This is very important. Or you are working in a school on children, for example, in a school. So you need to get ethical approval actually from that school, as well as from the educational, for example, if it is in Abu Dhabi, in educational department in Abu Dhabi, you need to get approval for doing that research on students in that school. So these are all required in order to get ethical approval from the Human Ethics Committee if your subject related to the to this committee. Then after that, you need signatures. And then you see here, the principal investigator signature we need co-investigator signature, all co-investigator. So you as graduate students, you will be one of these co-investigators because the project may have another co-investigator from other faculty, from other departments. So date and signature needed, actually. Then we come to the checklist, and this is the checklist, which include many questions that you need to say yes or no, which is related to information that you put it inside the application form to be sure that all these very important points, they are all included within the application form. So including PI signature, project description, co-investigator signatures, chair signatures, place of study, and supporting letters. Also, personal identifiers, protection of personal data, application form, filling the form, subjects, healthcare, and consent form, which is very, very important. And then references. Where for project description, you are allowed to put only maximum 15 references for the project description. Then we have the consent form, very important because the participant should be voluntarily accept to participate. And and should understand that what is this project through giving full information about this project, the risk, what are the risks, what are the good things in this research, all should be written. For example, if you are giving, for example, certain drug or preparations, for example, to the patient as part of this project, so you need to say if there are any history, for example, or recorded allergies or side effects, etc., to the participant. Or if we are doing, for example, any procedure, you should say that, for example, what is the percentage of, or what is the percentage of risk that the patient may get if this procedure was applied to this participant. This should be honestly written, and the patient should know about it. And this all we should write it in the patient information sheets. So the patient will read the consent form and sign it, actually. And also after reading the patient information, and the consent form include the Arabic one. This is the Arabic one, and should be both in Arabic and in English, because the participant does not know the English and knows the Arabic one. This is very important point. And this is the English. And then the patient information sheets, actually, which will include all the important information for the participant, telling about the research, what are the procedures that will be done, what are the risks, for example, expected risks on this procedure, and then what are the benefits from this research as a whole. And then the patient will be given the consent, the participants, could be a patient, of course, will be given the consent form in Arabic and English to be signed. So this is the patient information sheets in Arabic, and this is the patient information sheet in English. These are the most important point that I would like to tell you in this lecture. And in summary, let me summarize important point for you, that ethics approval is mandatory, actually, for any research to be done in the inside the our university. And exceptions are actually, we said exception for human ethics committee, I am saying. Exception that if you are working research, for example, on cell lines, you don't need approval. You don't need approval for that. All other kind of research on human, they need ethical approach. So you have to apply to the Human Research Ethics Committee, okay? Or other committees. If you are working on social science projects, then you have to apply to Social Science Committee. If you are working on biohazard material, you should apply to Biohazard Research Ethics Committee. If you work on animal, of course, or you have experiments on animal, or you are working on a product of animals, you need to apply for Animal Research Ethics Committee. So these are very, 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 very important. Some situation when you work on human, for example, you need to notify the committee. So your proposal will not go for full review, but you need to apply to fill the application form, and you need to send the because we need to know about your research project and what you are going to do. So we need to have the whole thing. Of course, consent form, you don't need it. It is not applicable here. Patient information sheet, it is not applicable because you are not working on human. You are working, for example, on archive material. But you need to put your proposal or your application form to the committee and notify the committee about this project, and then you will get a letter from the committee or from the chair of the committee that you can go ahead with your research project. Otherwise you need ethical approval. So always before my message here, always before you start any project, you have to know what is your project actually, and you have to know that research projects to start with, you need to get ethical approval before starting your research project. I am happy to hear any question from you. Any question?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, my question is like, how long is the review process?
Can you just the voice, I couldn't hear it very clearly.
I said, how long is the review process for the ethical approval?
Yes, the review process should be completed within 4 weeks actually. What we are doing actually, let me tell you, for example, in the Human Ethics Committee, for example, let me tell you, we have review process actually will take 4 weeks actually. This is what we are going. In case your project involving the participants are all from within the university, you see what I mean? But if you are working, for example, on participants that are outside the UAE university, for example, in schools or in other institutes, for example, not necessarily health institutes, or in health institutes, for example, like, for example, hospital, then our approval will be conditional. We will make the review. The review will finish within the 4 weeks, but we will give conditional approval because you need it to send it to that institute, that you get that your proposal, your research proposal is reviewed by the institutional review board and get approval, conditional approval, and waiting for the hospital or that institute approval. This actually, the hospital approval may take time, but this is outside our time limit actually. So that's why, for example, the PI may need to wait more until get full approval from the committee. So you'll get conditional approval, but the full approval, it will depend on getting approval from that institute.
Okay,
This is
so
for
if-
the human ethics, actually, which actually this is the time may be more long than the other committees, because not because of the committee review process. The committee review process will not be more than 4 weeks, actually, and you get the approval. But it is because of the we need approval from other institute outside the university in order to give the full approval of the ethics project. Is that clear
so
now?
if we get conditional approval and we get approval from the outside agency,
Yeah,
do we
from the
need to come
outside
back-
agency.
do we
Yes.
need to come
So-
back to the Human Ethics Committee again?
Yes, you come back to the Human Ethics Committee, send the approval, and then we will issue the letter directly.
So please, I have a question specific to an application we did like 6-7 months ago to the Human
Yes.
Ethics Committee.
Yes, tell me.
We were requested to provide letter from Abu Dhabi DOH and Align Center for Care Rehabilitation,
Yes,
because we are doing on children with disabilities.
yes.
So we approved the DOH, but they told us that they don't consider this kind of cases because they only consider cases that has to do with clinical trials or administering new therapy or drugs, but we are
Right.
just working on children with disabilities. So
Yes, this is
they-
another problem. Yeah. I understand your point. Yes, I understand your point. The problem, this is another problem. There should be an ethical committee inside this institute, the Disability Institute.
yeah, we already got the approval from the institute and we
Not the institute.
uploaded.
There should be ethical committee in that institute. Approve that.
Yeah, we already got that. We uploaded with our application,
Okay.
but we didn't get any response yet. Like
You didn't
6-7
get-
months from your committee.
Okay, send me email about that. Actually, yani you get ethical approval, okay, from DOH. Is that right?
No, you asked us to get approval
Yes,
from
ethical
DOH.
approval from DOH. Yes, because
When we
because
went
the problem,
approached the
look,
DOH,
yes, because our
they
committee,
told
this
us-
is the problem. Yes, this is the problem. There should be a committee because you are working on disabled people.
yes,
They are patients.
no, they are students, they are not in a hospital, they are in a school.
Yes, but they are disabled.
Not necessarily.
What they are those.
They have some deficiency or deformity, but not necessarily like sick.
No, not six. I mean, patients. They are actually
Yeah.
disabled. So disabled, they should have. Yes, they may have, but they have certain disabilities because of a disease. They have it.
Yes, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Our committee, we don't have the. This is another problem. Actually, we face it, not only with you, because we don't have ethical power actually on research in that institute. This is the problem.
But we'll be doing the research in a lab in the university.
Yes, you are doing what kind of you bring the patient here, the
Yes,
person.
yes.
Yeah, but actually we don't. We are not. This is the problem actually. This is outside the scope of our. I cannot give, for example, for the participant should be either our staff or our students. That's it.
But we already got approval from the institute to conduct the research.
Yeah, but
University.
DOH did not give us approval. Actually, don't allow us to give approval on such things. I don't have as a committee. In that case, I need to write to them again for that, on a special case to that, because this is always be a problem actually. I mean, the limit of our by policy, this is what I'm saying. By policy, our committee deal with participants that are within the university. Research within the university, what I mean, research within the university, if they get approval from the hospital, for example, in human. But this is for this disabled people, schools, for example, or
Yes.
institutes. They should have their ethics committee. Do they have their ethics committee?
Yeah, and they give us approval and we upload it
No,
with our
no.
application.
They give us this is from their ethics committee.
Yes,
They have ethics committee.
yes, they did at their headquarters.
I mean,
in
it is
Abu Dhabi.
written that ethics committee approval, or
No,
that
what
it is
they-
from the administration.
From the administration, but what they
No,
told
what
us.
we need actually, if they can send us a letter from ethics committee there, because our things is related to ethics.
Because what they told us is they already have an MOU with UAE University to conduct any form of research between the two institutions.
They have MOU with us
With-
to
yes,
conduct
yes.
all this research.
No, with the university.
With the university.
To conduct any form of research between the two
Okay.
agencies, either the university or the.
Anyway, we need to study that, and I need to ask about our policy, because our policy does not show this thing, you know. Send
Because
me
like
this
you are
MOU.
saying, like you're
Send
saying
me this
in
MOU.
your.
Send me this
Okay.
MOU.
Okay.
Send me this MOU, actually, and I will ask the research office about that.
Okay.
Send me this by email. Send me the MOU. If you have the MOU, send it to me, and send me the approval.
Okay.
So, and I will ask the research office for that,
Okay.
inshallah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Arij.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Arij, I hear you.
I was just confused by one point. Do we fill one form for all committees, or for each committee has its own form?
Yeah, each committee has its own application form.
Okay. Then I have like a specific case. If we are attaching devices to birds, and sometimes
Just can you raise your voice so I can hear you?
I have a specific question, not a quick one.
Yes.
If we are attaching devices on birds, seabirds that are flying, sometimes
Okay.
have accidents where these devices fall. So I know we have to get the main ethical approval from that committee related to animal ethics.
Which
But
committee?
we need, honestly, I didn't apply. It was my advisor, but it's the one responsible.
Yes. Okay. No problem. Yes.
Yeah, but
yes.
do we need to apply also for the hazardous committee, because
Yes.
the devices some
Yes. Yes. Yes.
okay.
Yes. But different application form. You can put it together into different committees.
Okay.
Okay. So each committee, if you are working, I talk about that. I say that if you work on, for example, hazardous committee and social committee, you apply to both.
Mm,
Okay.
okay. Okay, thank you.
At the same time, you can apply actually, because they have different domain in the same portal, but you go to different domains.
And the hazardous committee covers the point where the device might fall in the ocean. So like they cover that aspect, or
What I know that any hazardous chemicals or biological,
okay.
anything that has hazard to chemical or biological, even in genetically modified material.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, there is another raised hand. Simi Matthew.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Thank you for
afternoon.
the information. I just had a quick question. If we are doing secondary data, we are using databases that are available in the UAE. So we would have to request for an exemption from UAEU and then go into the database, or maybe the DOH or the MOH, depending on where the database is. Am I right?
Yes, yes, you are right. Actually, you for your this you are using data from MOH or DOH, for example.
Yes.
Clinical, yeah, patient data. Okay,
Yes.
clinical data. Yes, you apply for human ethics actually here,
Okay.
and you will get conditional approval. Okay.
Okay.
For that data, for these data, because you are seeking data from other institute, but you cannot start your project unless you get approval from the other institutes. So when you get approval from other institute, for example, DOH, you bring the approval and you will get full approval, so you work on this project in our university.
Okay, but so just to clarify, doctor, that I would have to fill in the exemption form and
not exemption form. No, you just fill it. Clinical data is not an exemption.
Okay.
What we say is that if you are getting data from database outside the UAE,
Okay.
outside the country, okay, outside our country, so then in this case, you need to write to the committee that you are obtaining a data from, for example, Oxford University. Okay.
Okay.
And you send the document of approval from that university that they allow you to get this data, and then you write a proposal, for you. What are you going to do with this data here in
Yes.
our? Yes, you write the full. You fill the full application form. Okay, and
Okay.
you submit it, and then you get with this one you get approval without full review process like the others. You get a letter of approval, for example, from the committee. This will be very quick.
Okay, doctor. Thank you so much, doctor.
This is the way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. I get another Amne.
Assalamu
Alaikum salam, Amne. Yes. Tell me, Amne.
Yes, I want to ask about when we can ask for waiver of a consent.
Waiver of a consent. Actually, waiver of a consent. If you are working with patients, you cannot. There is no waiver.
Even if I got this coded sample?
Even if you got coded sample, always when you work with patients, you need a consent form.
Okay, thank you.
Always be careful about that. Always, when you take any sample taken from a patient, you should have a consent form.
Even if I don't know the patient and I do not deal with the patient.
If you don't deal with the patient, because you may from where you take the sample?
Like, let's assume I will take the sample from the blood bank.
From blood bank. A blood bank, then this is you need to, if it is already given, for example, from that, then in that case, the ethical committee in that hospital will determine whether you need a consent form or not. But our committee, for us, for example, will, because you are not taking blood from our students, for example, or our staff. You are taking blood, for example, from the hospital, from patients.
Yeah.
So the main consent form will be needed for the hospital. It's not needed for us.
Okay.
That's why you need to describe clearly, actually, your proposal. Describe it very clearly, especially the methodology part. What you are going to do, what are the steps? You are getting blood, from where you are getting the blood? You are getting from the patient directly, you are getting from the lab, for example, you are getting from the blood bank lab. This is very important to clarify everything. But by all means, what will determine the consent form presence or absence is the is the review board of that hospital.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Yes, Muhammad.
Okay, sorry, I forgot to ask earlier, because part of our research also involves like healthy children, and they will be recruited from the Falaj Hazar campus in the university. So does that fall under your ethics committee? Because it's under the university jurisdiction. The children will be under the university.
I didn't understand your point, just because the voice is not high. Sorry for that.
Yeah, so I said like in that research with the disabled children,
Yes.
because we have also part of a sample, it's healthy children. And those children will be recruited from the Falaj Hazar campus in the university. So
Okay.
I believe
Okay,
that
okay.
they
Yes.
fall under the
Understood.
restriction.
Understood. Yes. Yes. Understood. Yes. Oh, the issue here, actually, the scope of our university in the policy, we are dealing for participants that are from our university inside. So this is the issue.
So I mean, like those children that are on the Falaj Hazar campus, because their
Yes.
parents live there, say they are under the university, are they considered under the university or not?
Well, they are not considered at the university. You should also get seek approval from the education administration.
No, because they are in the Falaj Hazar campus. At Falaj Hazar, there is a student housing unit
Okay.
where they give PhD students accommodation and also visiting faculty. So their children will be recruited from there. It's not from schools, it's from the Falaj Hazar campus of the university.
Okay.
So I just want clarification whether for them they fall under the rejection of the university.
It is actually children are not part of our university. Yani. I'm talking clearly, staff and students only, our students.
So in that case, those children, how do we proceed with them?
Well, I cannot. I have no idea about that. I mean, how to get that, because they are in different schools. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And what we are using them for? What?
For biomechanical measurements, we'll just measure the properties of the joints, upper and lower extremity, the strength.
Yes. This is out of the scope of our committee. Actually, I can tell you that.
Doctor, how
Yes.
about actually I'm working in the Ministry of Health, and I was a part of the research ethics there. And sometimes we give in the Ministry of Health, they give the ethical approval for the patient who's like do not working, like as the Muhammad case, the participant, it's not from the university, so the university cannot give them the consent form. So maybe he can go to the Ministry of Health and ask for ethical approval there.
Well, this is what I mean. That's what I am saying. I mean, DOH may be not giving this. Maybe Ministry of Health review board can give this approval.
Yeah.
Which will cover the whole country, actually.
Yes, actually, yes. Now they will do it's called المجلس الوطني للأبحاث.
بالضبط.
And they will cover most of the UAE. I think even it will be covered.
Yes, that's what I am saying. I'm saying it will cover, so I think everything will be okay. So, and this will be very good actually for even the researcher, because we will have more opportunities, all over the country. Yeah,
and there is something Emirates Health Services will do now. If she have a MOU with a university, before they ask for 2 ethical approval, they have to get the ethical approval from the Ministry of Health and from the university, or even from They do not accept the university ethical approval and they accept only the Ministry of Health. But now, if there is MOU between the university and the Ministry of Health, and the university give the ethical approval, they will accept that. But
Okay.
still, it is under process. So they want to help a student in this regard.
Right. This is very important, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, we all want to help the student in that, because this is the way we'll easy the research procedures. This will be very easy. So this is the issue. And that's what I am saying, actually. Yeah. This is the easy way. Inshallah, it will be done, inshallah, with the future. But anyway,
Inshallah.
giving
It's
your
under
project-
process.
yeah,
Take it from
is
me
under
because I'm
process.
there.
Yes, it's okay, no problem. But what I am saying, put your proposal to our place, and then it will get the conditional approval. Then it will ease the things, you know, because the proposal, when it is reviewed by the committee, by any of the ethics committee, not only ours, and then reviewed and get conditional approval, it will be easy for you to get any approval for other committees, because you will submit the conditional approval, and this will make easy for that. Same thing, if you get conditional approval from other institutes and give it to us, it will easy the final approval.
Doctor, if you excuse me to put my email just to help the student if they need something from the
Okay.
Ministry of
Okay.
Health,
That will be great.
I'm willing really to help all of them.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Doctor.
What's your name?
My name is Amna Harab.
Amna. Thank you very much, Amna. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Then if there is no question, thank you very much. And I am happy to answer all your questions, actually. You can send me email for that. Thank you very much for attendance.